Yo, yo, what is going on? Good morning. And actually, about 3 minutes, it's going to be the afternoon. So, good morning, afternoon uh, to
Ish.
everyone. Yes. Um, Thank you all for joining us. I've got my good friend Keely here, who is a contractor working with Rapid SOS in marketing. This is a whole new thing. You coming from public safety, all of your years there, and I am excited to have you here with me.
I'm excited to be here. This is a new thing we're trying out and we're testing, but really because we want to share with you some exciting things we've been doing at Rapid SOS, but also more just so we could dive in a little bit to some to like everybody's new favorite show. So like this is gonna be fun.
Yes, yes, this is going to be good. And for all of you, you all may or may not know who I am. Sounds so stupid saying it that way. I'm Ricardo. Good to see all of you again here with Within the Trenches. And we are, as you know, have this partnership with Rapid SOS. And both Keely and I, about a week or so ago, we were out doing something very cool, but also celebrating and honoring, helping to celebrate and honor healthcare workers as well as first responders with a project. We had been teasing it for a while, but also just want to say this really quick. This is out of nowhere. And we were putting stuff together this morning to do this. So usually you'll see a tease or you'll see some sort of marketing promo slick that I put out to say, hey, make sure to join us at whatever time on all of social media because we're going to be going live for something. So we just hit you out of nowhere,
We sure
just
did.
just like the weather that's going to be hitting pretty much a huge, enormous chunk of the United States. Like it is very, very cold. It is cold in the room that I'm in right now as well. I'm surprised you can't see my air blowing, but we are currently live on Within the
Air
Trenches
blowing.
podcast. I know. Within the Trenches podcast. Yeah, air blowing.
Air blowing.
My
That's
breath,
everybody's
my
new
air.
takeaway.
Yeah. On Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, as well as X, but also going live on Rapid SOS's Facebook and LinkedIn Live. So
That's right.
let's start it off. We're gonna jump in with what we were doing, this special project. Again, I'd been teasing a lot of things, and one of the teasers that I put out, just out of nowhere in the end, I say, "Oh, by the way, how many of you watch The Pit?" And and I know people were sending me messages going, "What? What are you talking about?" So, let me share something with you really quick, and then we're going to jump into this. So, I'm gonna throw this up on the screen, and here we go. Very, very cool. That was that was awesome. So, let's jump right in. Keely, what were we doing? What was going on?
Well, I mean, the coolest thing about it is like going back and being able to see clips of that video and like knowing in those moments, like the people we were talking to and what was going on. So we were sponsoring the premiere of season two, episode two, the day before it actually went to live stream. Uh, so we were able to see it a little ahead of time, but the really cool part was that event, and it showed on that, and I don't know if any of you caught it, but that event started at like the crack of dawn, 7:30 in the morning. That event started. And I know we had our teams were split while we were out there. We had teams that were up in Butler County. There was a whole media event that was going on there that was separate too, but also somehow integrated with what was going on that day. And we got to get there. I mean, from our company, Sue Webster was with me at Allegheny General Hospital, and that is actually where the Pitt. That's the Pitt Pittsburgh, right? Like we've made the connection. All right, so like we were there, and it was a moment to bring together all of the healthcare workers that work at that hospital where the Pitt is, supposed to be based, and it was really interesting because there were just lines and lines of people who were coming to like spend the day there, hang out with the sponsors that were there, get some cool swag, and then spend the evening together watching the premiere. But it was an all day thing. So like when we first got there, it was tons of people. Like, I mean, I had to like, excuse me, pardon me, to like get to the booth in the first place. And that was, at 7:30 in the morning. Um, but being able to talk to people who just scrubbed out of the OR, people who worked in the emergency department, we got to meet the doctor who Noah Wiley's character would be in the show. Met him personally, and really just the nicest group of human beings on the actual planet. And they spent time with us. They got to know who we were, some of the things that we were trying to solve for in in the field, right? Because like, let's be serious. The emergency department is going to see a whole lot of patients that probably called 911 or a loved one called 911 for them, right? Like, so this is kind of where this all sort of blends together is, being able to support those healthcare heroes, EMS in the field, your fire departments that respond to EMS calls, your law enforcement that respond to those calls with EMS, those first responders out there. And then, like, the whole chain of response, starting with the phone call right through and up to people in the OR, the nurses that assist those patients that were brought in by a patient who may have dialed 911 themselves. And it was just incredible to see that blending in one room. It was really humbling to be, I mean, I come from a world of EMS. I started my career in EMS, and for those of you that don't know that, I start my career in EMS or in 911 because I had a fight with the dispatcher. So like that's how I get into 911 in the first place. And so to be able to be in there and see, the whole chain of response in one room, sharing time together, spending time together, and then to watch that in person together, all together. And it was like not really an experience. Like, you watch these shows, and a lot of times we watch the shows like separately, and then we all kind of complain about it aftermath. Like, we get together, we have a moment of choir practice in the morning where we Monday morning quarterback the show. But like this wasn't that. This was actually being in the room together in a show that is they take a lot of time and care in making it authentic and laughing together and seeing those real life moments together that were on screen in front of us and just sharing the room together in that connected thread from 911, because we had guests of ours that were there from 911, we had guests that were from EMS that were with us, we had guests that were from fire that were with us, and then we had representatives from Rapid SOS that was there as well, and then a whole room of emergency healthcare professionals as well that were all sharing that space, watching this premiere, getting some swag, hanging out together, having some really amazing mocktails, by the way, that were really very good. They did not let us have the real stuff, everybody, just so you know, like none of that was happening on the job, but they did have some really fun mocktails. And just like the connective thread of emergency response was together. And I think that was really special.
I fully agree. I so as you said, we were split up. So my the team that I was a part of, as I was posting behind the scenes and teasers and everything, along with this partnership and stuff, I was invited out to do some behind the scenes stuff, but also to do, and I'm just going to put it on the screen here really quick before we get into some of the other stuff that we're going to be talking about here for this short broadcast, is I had a chance to do on the spot interviews and such. I did some because we started out actually at Butler County 911. So we started out there because of the technology that was being added there and everything, and what they were using to be able to help them within the center, but also all of those out in the community. So they had a lot of stuff going out there, a lot of media there for what they were using with Rapid SOS as well. And so I'm doing spot interviews with our camera guy, who's his name is Kenny. Very cool guy. Shout out, man. That dude was awesome. And then here, as you see, this is in, I believe it was called the Sip and Celebrate room that we were in, and we had our guests that were there coming out and was getting reactions. So that's what this shot is here, getting some reactions and such from the episode, and just what it was like for them, but also the honor to be there again as healthcare workers and first responders were being um, honored there. And I want to share this really quick because along with that video, I was also doing some behind the scenes work. So I want to share this one here really quick. This is just this is not as polished as what you just saw, but for me, it's good. And so let me put this up here really quick on the screen and share it. But this was right as we were getting ready to go into the auditorium because we had everything that was going on there in that room that I was just talking about, and then you go downstairs, and there was a red carpet set up, and there was banners. People could take pictures. It was really cool to be able to do that. A lot of people were there getting into it as well, and then we were in line and making our way into the auditorium. So I'm just gonna share this right here. Here we go. So there you have it. That was a short video that I took, and I had the privilege of again being there as a guest and doing all of this stuff, but also getting a chance to wear one of those snazzy Rapid SOS polos. So that was cool. But we were sitting right there, and Keely, I don't think you even knew until I sent you the video that you were in it. You knew that I was taking video and you waved during that one, but you didn't know that you were in there.
Had no idea, but that's typically how it goes. Like sometimes I walk up to you and you're live, and I'm like, "Oh, hey!"
I
like
that's true. Yeah, we did that as well. So
I'm
that
usually
was
running around doing something, and then you're like doing something, and I'm like, and you're like, "Oh," and you turn the camera to me, and I'm like, "Hi, I'm on my way to the next thing. I'm sorry."
yes, yes. So all of it was again just a great experience. It was a lot of fun, but what we're doing here, as it says up here, after the pit, connecting people and technology, we are going to be doing this weekly as we're going through this season to, just as I said, connecting the people and technology and just kind of comparing some of these um these issues, these medical issues that come in and how we can connect those. Because one of the things that I thought was awesome while I was doing those on the spot interviews is that a lot of people were saying that they were thinking about what happened beforehand. Like, what was everything that connected leading up to that moment that they're there in the hospital where the story continues. And I thought, man, I love that because that's what I was doing as well. I was sitting there watching some of these things that were going on and thinking, I wonder how that 911 call went, especially for a
Yep.
couple of the things that we saw and maybe we're not expecting to see. But what we're going to be doing so that, of course, everyone who's watching this right now, whether it be live or in the replay rather, spoiler alert. Okay? Spoiler alert. So if you're watching this show as well, and you haven't had a chance, so what we're doing is we're gonna be staggering episodes. So today we're gonna be talking a little bit about episode 1 and episode 2 of this new season that just started that's, streaming out there on HBO Max right now, for The Pitt. But we wanted to do it that way so that it's not, like, immediate and you're thinking, "Oh, you jerks, I haven't seen it yet." Well, you get at least a week to catch
Right.
up, but just know, spoiler alert. So, one of the things we wanna jump in as well is, there is there's something that's going on, again, and for those who are watching and listening to this right now too, if you don't know, the way this is set up is it's an hour for a 15-hour shift, and that's the season. So there's 15 episodes in the season because that's how long their shifts are, is 15 hours. So it's every episode is 1 hour of that 15-hour shift, which I think is really cool the way they have it set up that way. There's other shows in the past that have been like that, but this is completely different here on the medical side of things. So there was one that you had pointed out, Keely, which really made me think as well. There's a gentleman who comes in who is just kind of out of it. I think if it's the same person that I'm thinking that you're talking about, uh, he goes in originally, he like smashed his face or something and his wrist is hurt, and he's just kinda like, "You know what? I'm fine," but then has no idea where he's at or who he is. Take us there.
Yeah, so I found that one super interesting, right? Because as the doctor is working in and out with him, um, first she's, assessing his injuries, and then he will become aggressive, and then he falls off. And then he has no memory of why he's there, and then he comes back to the memory, and then he knows what's going on. But it's insignificant at first. Like there isn't a lot, and my years in the field, there's been times where we're dealing with a patient and then suddenly their whole demeanor changes, right? But it's like we don't have anything to go on. We have nothing that would indicate that this person might have head trauma, or maybe this person's having a diabetic emergency. Like we don't know that information sometimes, right? And it would be like super helpful if there was like a health profile or something that has been previously filled out that perhaps dispatch had their hands on. Now I'm talking like I started my career in the Stone Age, right? So like that wasn't an option. Like that, we'd have to sit there and figure it out. And let's be serious. How many times in our careers did we take 911 calls where we're dealing with somebody who's a little like, we know something's off, but we don't really know that something's off, but like we're
Right.
trying to get to the bottom of what that something off is. And so can you imagine, and I'm just going to take this like that call, like how the guy gets there. Like so in this situation I believe he was a walk-in. He didn't come in by ambulance, but let's just say for argument's sake he does dial 911. And now you're talking to this person who has these fluctuations of mental status where, and we've had those callers and now we're like, oh god, is this a psych? And now you're not sure. But like maybe it's a medical, maybe this is a diabetic, maybe this is a neurological disorder of some type, right? And maybe it's not just a psych. And even if it is, wouldn't it be helpful to know that, or know that there was like, perhaps a non-compliant patient with medication? But you would know that information if a health profile had been filled out, right? Like, and there's a lot of naysayers in the world, right? Where they're like, I'm not doing that, Big Brother's watching, all that sort of stuff. And I listen, I get it, right? Like we're in a really weird time with technology right now. And then we're also in a weird time with, you know, um, people stealing data, or not sure how we feel about our personal information being out there. And it's like trying to let the general public understand that this health profile information sits behind layers of cybersecurity and data that only triggers when 911 is actually pushed. Our partnerships make sure of that. They want to make sure their customers are equally as safe, right? So like the only way that that's happening is if you've pushed, it's like allowing that to go through our safe system as well, to make sure that we can treat a patient accordingly. And trying to make sure that this is something that is imperative to help those that are going to be on scene, so that treatment is started right away. So like in this guy's instance, right, it's not picked up on until the doctor herself is like, something doesn't seem okay with this patient. I need to send him for a CT. But
Mhm.
imagine if that information had been I mean, sometimes you're in an ER for hours, right? Like you're
Right.
in that emergency department for hours. So imagine having that information at arrival and knowing that, hey, this could be neurological, hey, this could be diabetic, hey, this could be non-compliance with medication, and we need to know that, right? So, like, all of those factors are important when you're getting into an emergency room setting, and so that the most appropriate level of care is being won in the field instead of hours later, minutes later, in the ER, right? Where like they're putting that connective tissue together to go, I need to do something elevated for this patient, as opposed to just a simple assessment, right? So like winning those minutes in the field is what's going to matter most. And that's what we're trying to do is how do we win the minutes there to make it easier for those healthcare workers, for the people who are ultimately going to be making those decisions to put life-saving efforts in place, your paramedics, your hospital staff, your OR, your emergency room technicians who know that they've got to get them certain treatments ahead of time or making those decisions ahead of time, or even imagine a paramedic being able to be like, hey doc, this is happening, I think you should take a look at this when we get in, because we've got this emergency health profile that's indicating that this could be XYZ, has a history of XYZ. So I just think it's really interesting that you take a patient as simple as that who came in probably for just a simple fall, and then you're like, oh, there were other things that could have happened. And it's the same thing with like a motor vehicle accident, right? Like if the crash detection information, all that data spills in, and we know that they were unrestrained and they were traveling like 90 miles an hour, that's going to change how we're treating the patient for the neck pain, right? So just ideas like that when you're thinking about what this might have looked like in the field or what that call might have been like.
Yeah, the whole idea of a health profile, it makes me think, well, I like you said, Stone Age when we were in dispatch. So me as well, because even though mine ended at the end of 2013, um, we could go on was our in-house computer. And for those who are watching and listening who do not know what that is, if you're in public safety, if you're a 911, I'm sure you know what I mean. But for others, it's just simply a database where everything is logged in for all of our calls. We can look up the history on a certain you can put it in there different combinations, whether it's just a phone number or a name, partial name, or an address, to look up all of those records that might be connected to whatever address. And we would be able to look up information that way. If it was something where, someone was they were, they had dementia or something like that, and they were at home, but they're known to call, there might be, a note that would pop up on the screen once that call came in that would say, "Frequent calls at this address. This person is having, medical issues," or something like that. It would have information. So it would be, the a version of a health profile, but you go through and do what it is that you're doing. When things sound a little off, that's when we would start looking at stuff. But yeah, if there's that information already and we're able to transfer it over to EMS that's going out there, and all of that, because towards the end of my dispatch career, EMS and fire and stuff were starting to get MCTs, their laptops and everything, so that they would have access to the CAD call or the complaint where we type everything in, so that they know the information, so they have it all that they're going out to, not just listening over the radio, but they have it right in front of them to be able to read and everything. But to technology later on to have this is, man, it's a godsend to be able to have all of that. And like you said, to be able to save all of those minutes so that when they're going into the ER, the way you see in the show in the pit, to be able to help them to save lives even more. I mean, that's how you bridge the gap between everybody in this entire first responder family that is, going on to, medical healthcare workers and everything. It's really cool that we're able to do all of this now.
Yeah, when we once upon a time couldn't, you know?
Yes.
And it's like so interesting to see technology constantly changing and upping the game and making making it easier and also a little scarier, I think sometimes. But it's also being open to the idea that like what what could it change for the good, like technology for good, right?
Yeah, safer together, man. Like just all of it in general. Now um there's a call or there is an incident that happens. Now this isn't a technology piece per se, but it was one that really stuck out to me, and I say stuck out and that no pun intended because of what I'm about to mention, and it's not from episode 2, it's from episode 1 because what I just said fits with episode 2 as well. Oh my god.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about that one.
Not that one. Yeah, probably not that one. But, in episode 1, like, right off the bat, there's a gentleman who's brought in because what happens and it's a crazy way to just start it out because it's like that, and I think the characters end up saying as well, "Well, that was an odd way to start out the day," or something to that effect, and, this guy comes in because he was unloading the dishwasher. He slipped and fell on a knife and got stabbed. Now, I think in comparison to what happens in this scene to 911 a little bit is there are times where we have people who don't know where they're at. We have to think outside the box. There are a lot of cases like this when calls come in that we end up having to think outside the box. If someone is talking and it's something sounds off, right? You got that dispatch spidey sense that kicks in and you switch to yes or no questions. Are you able to talk right now? Yes or no? Is there someone there with you? Yes or no? And you are thinking outside of your box. So with this case specifically, one of the things that happens is they're trying to figure out how they can stop the bleeding around the heart and everything, and one of the characters ends up saying, "If you lift the lung slowly and kind of turn it a little bit, you'll have a better way to get over there and, stop the bleeding," and all this other stuff, and they do it where one of the doctors ends up saying, "Yeah, well, if you pull on it, you're gonna rip it and the person's gonna die." So then the other character goes, "Gently." Gently lift the lung, and they show it. And, I mean, this is from what I have seen in research and from what a lot of people have said as well. I mean, there's all kinds of YouTube videos out there saying doctors saying this as well, that this show is, like, the most accurate of any show out there.
For sure.
And, so they do this, and it works. And everyone's like, "Okay, we've stopped it, let's keep going," and the person ends up from what it looks like, ends up living, like, they saved this person, but it's that thinking outside of the box that ended up helping that because Noah Wile's character is just like, okay, let's try this, and then they keep going and it ends up working. And I feel like that's a good comparison and contrast between 911 and how we do certain things. And I'm sure others out in the field, when you're thinking outside the box, you might have a situation like this, not exactly like that, right? But where you have to think outside the box to save or help others in their moment of need.
It's funny you say that. Like one of the things we used to always tell our trainees was your callers don't read the 911 book and don't know what questions you're about to ask. Like they're not prepared for that. So like
Mhm.
sometimes there's this shift where like you're going to have to think of how to work around some of those things. Like, and we did it in EMS as well, right? Like your textbook cases are never going to be textbook cases, and it's going to be rare that you get those are the rare ones where they're actually like your patient falls unresponsive in the middle of the room, plenty of area to do CPR. There's they've only been down for a few minutes, the medications are neatly organized in alphabetical order on the shelf. Like it's never those things. You have to like you're like a detective in their house trying to find their pill bottles, trying to find information, so it's like that thought process of always trying to think beyond, like, if it were me, if it were my dad, if it were my family member, my loved one, where would they put this? What would they be thinking? Would they be saying? So it's a lot of outside the box thinking in what we do. And that's, I think, the common thread between emergency response all the way through hospital care is like that thinking of, first of all, your bedside manner, how would I want to be treated? And then second of all, how would I treat this patient if I don't have a lot of information. But wouldn't it be great if I could get that information somewhere?
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly. And so there's another um not issue per se, but it's something that we can compare as well between public safety world, technology, and people, and this show, because one of the, I guess, is a new character, a new doctor that is coming in at the beginning of this season, is talking about the use of AI on the medical side and simplifying things. And I think that is it's a it's a big topic as well that is going on in public safety. How does that work? And like, what do we do with it?
Yeah, so Dr. Al Hashimi, she's the new doctor. She's coming in to take over for Dr. Robbie while he goes on his sabbatical. But
Yes.
there was a lot of back and forth with them, and we get that battle too, right? And I just want to point this out: like the new person who comes in and might have previous experience, and the old timer who's still sitting in the seat, and like they always clash heads, but they have two very different ways of looking at things. It's like the way we've always done it, and the technology and advances, right? So like there's these two polar opposites that kind of are happening, and I think we're seeing it across the board in public safety as a whole right now. Is like the way things have always, like, years of tradition impeded by progress. It's a fire department statement, and it's like there's all of these things that we have traditionally that we've done that have always worked, and in technology failures, they're still going to work. They're great to have as fallbacks, and they're great to like that human side of things. But then you have this other side of things, right? This moment of technology is advancing, and we're trying to find different ways to help. We're trying to win minutes. We're trying to advance. We're trying to be better caretakers for our citizens as a whole. And then there's AI. And it is such a divide in the world of public safety, emergency response, and as you're seeing in an emergency room, you're seeing it in other places when you call your credit card companies, right? You're like, why can't I have a human agent, 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 right? Like,
Or you're
so,
pressing
but it's like,
zero.
right? It's like, we're sorry, we didn't understand you. Could you say it again? And it's like, so like, where are we with technology? And is it where it needs to be in a deployment in a public safety setting or in an emergency room setting? And I love Dr. Al Hashimi's thought processes. It's like, this could save us for charting. This could save us minutes. We just put it on our phone. And I've had this happen to me a couple of times where it's like, this isn't my phone. This is an app that I've got built in my phone. So you're going to have people out there that are like, I don't like that you're using your personal cell phone to collect my data. So like, how do we work around that? But like, she explains it first before she turns it on and lets them know that it's going to just record our conversation, and then she goes over to the chart, right? And then you got all these new medical doctor students that are like, oh, that's so cool. That would save me hours of charting. And those are your newcomers, right? The people that are like, yes, give me the technology. And then you got Dr. Robbie that's like, hell no. Like,
Right. Yeah.
no, no, we're not doing that. And I do believe that's truly where we are currently. And then it's like, as people that are developing these types of things, and Rapid SOS is one of those, the developers of AI technology, and um, what are we doing to assist those who are implementing these things for the pushback that we're going to get, for the things that we're seeing when their general citizens are kind of like, no? Because Dr. Robbie is one of those people. It's like, I don't think so. We've had local governments out there that are banning it because they don't feel that it's ready, right? And or that it's as good as a human, right? And that's the idea with AI, is it's supposed to support, not make it harder. And
Mhm.
so like, are we in a place where these things are happening, and that is support, and that it is making the work lighter? And in her case, one of the student catches that the medication was wrong.
Mhm. Yeah.
It didn't translate it right. So I think the important part here is, it's never it's never without a human. It's in addition to a human, right? And it's like, to help that work. And that's what we're trying to do as well, is we're helping that work. We're not taking it away, we're not removing it, we are supporting it. And we're supporting it so that there is still human eyes on it that are making it make sense. I watched there's a YouTube, it came from my CPE class, and it was like, who decides should, right? And it's like, at what point are we using technology thoughtfully and making sure that it's being done correctly for the people who need it when they need it? and how they need it. So I think it was really interesting to watch that, and I am sure that that idea is going to expand. I did not watch that last night's episode, so don't you spoil it for me if you did. Um, you did, didn't you? Oh my goodness, you watched it without me. But like, but I'm sure we're going to see more of this because Dr. Al-Hashimi is younger and she's interested in the technology and what that has. And I really feel like there's going to be a lot of connective tissue that's happening because of
No
how
pun
we can see
intended. Connected tissue.
connective tissue. See what I did there?
Ah, very nice.
But like, but we're going to see that push for technology to change and for our thought process to change as we're assisting our victims and our patients and the callers that we're going to be seeing in 911, and how that helps support all the way through treatment, right? So I'm excited to see what happens in episode 3. Please, none of you put it in the thread because I'm gonna have to go back and read it later. Don't give me any spoilers. I'm not ready. And then Ricardo and I will be talking about episode 3 next week.
Yes, next week. And I like how just as we go into the wrap up of this, has been a lot of fun, and I look forward to more conversations and connecting all these dots and everything with just from the call all the way up to some of these, some of these cases that are coming in this show to really put all of this together and everything. But the way, you mention, in that scene where the student notices that that one piece was wrong, we have to go through it and everything else. Just and this doesn't have anything to do with 911, but it was something that a friend of mine that I actually went to college with, they were on LinkedIn and they had posted something that happened, and I think I saw an article about this as well, where people are having some issues. And so what it is they applied for a job, and almost immediately they got the, "Hey, thanks for sending this in, but, we're" no, basically is what it was saying. It's like, "Thanks, but no." So this had happened numerous times, but also, like, someone had told them, "Apply," and they did, and this happened almost immediately. So they called that recruiter, and they said, "What's the deal? Like, I was told to apply, but as soon as I put it in." Well, here's the thing. The gist of it is basically the AI that they were using was looking for certain keywords, and based on those keywords, completely took it out, and it was like, "Later."
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of s there's I'm pretty sure I saw it recently on social media that there are companies that are looking at this now because the candidates that they're looking for, they need to figure out how to write it to match the AI that they're using, whatever it may be, because it's kicking all these people out, and then they're wondering, "Why don't we have anybody applying?"
Yeah, right.
Well,
No,
it's
you're not getting
because
applicants. Yeah.
yeah, because it's little things like that, so it's
It's totally
interesting to
happened to
see.
me. It's totally happened to me. I
Oh,
definitely
yeah?
applied for a job and I know I was qualified for the job and it immediately kicked it back. And I was like, uh, why? Like, what did I do wrong? And then you go back and you're like, oh, I didn't have those keywords in there. So it's like now you need a different variable in like resume writing and how to do it to beat the bots essentially, right? So but I think but it's also the question is AI being responsible enough for us as a human service, right?
Yeah,
So definitely interesting stuff as you're seeing it sort of advance and being used in interesting ways too, right? Like you know transcription translation, right? Like my new earbuds will tell me when somebody's speaking a foreign language, and I think that's crazy. Like, could you imagine like years ago when you had the callers that didn't speak English, you didn't have to go through language services to like
yeah.
figure it out? Like they could just bang, right? And here we are. We're doing it today. We are doing it today. We're like Rapid SOS has this technology. And I'm like, man, that would have helped my caller like 100 years ago. That would have been great.
I
So
know, yeah,
yeah, so great
just
to see it and to know that it's evolving every single day and getting better and learning and understanding. And I say that and it's creepy. It's not Terminator 2. It's not
yeah, "Come
sentient.
with
It
me if
doesn't
you want
do
to
that.
live."
It's not that. It's much better than that. And it's just getting so much better. And here we are, there's, things that are going on with our company that's sitting in the space of AI that is definitely making it makes me want to go back and use it
Oh, I know. I've said the same thing a lot of times. I've told people, like, "I'm kinda jealous of, like, the technology that you get to
Yeah,
use."
yeah, for
Because
sure.
I get to see it, right, when I'm there, but it's different when you're actually using it because there's another sense of satisfaction there, like, "Yeah, we did that." But to be able to be associated with a company that continues to work on solving problems within the public safety space, especially in 911, is just amazing to be able to keep going, and you know, again, as a way to have something like AI, like, kinda be here on the shoulder, like a companion to assist, not take over, but to simply assist and make things easier. I mean, that's what it's all about because that human factor will always be needed.
Yeah, for
This has
sure.
been a lot of fun, dude.
All right. I think I think we did it, and we're sorry that we had no warning. So for all of you that were interrupted with our live, we'll try to remember to put something out next week.
Yeah, yeah. We'll put something out and you'll know that we'll be doing this and all, but this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining me here today and us talking about some of these cases in the first couple episodes of season 2 of The Pit that streams on HBO Max every Thursday, I believe at 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific. And I did that math quick. All right. For the Pacific time, it's because of this. It's
I'm
because of
still
the coffee.
counting. I'm like backwards, 10, 9, 8. I don't know.
Oh man. But yeah, we will be staggering episodes and doing this compare and contrast, talking about technology and people and how it just continues to make people and technology safer together. So bam, there you go. Enjoy the weekend and we will see you next week. If you are in an area where the weather is going to be bad, stay home. Just stay home.
Please do that.
Let things get postponed or canceled or whatever. It does not it's not worth your life. So, be safe out there, stay warm, and we will see you all in the next one. Have a good one, everyone.